Hi, myself Sabita Pradhan, pursuing MBA second year from Welltech Technical University. Here I am going to explain about my finance final project report. Title of the project is A Study on the Impact of Implementing Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Cluster Development Scheme in Safety Matchbox Industry located in Guidyatham, that is in Vellore. Before going to the introduction of the study, here I am going to give a brief introduction about the small medium enterprise. Here is the classification of micro, small and medium enterprise according to the investment of a manufacturing enterprise and service enterprises. Banks are also playing major role in SME financing. The main source of SME finance is through public sector bank, that is 57%, and then 25% is given by the private sector bank and the others is giving 80%. This is the company where I have done my project. It is the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Development Institute, Chennai, established in the year 1954 under the Ministry of MSME, Government of India. These are the schemes that are provided by MSME. I am going to explain deeply about the Cluster Development Scheme, that is one of the scheme of MSME in my project. Introduction to the study MSME-CDP scheme. Before going to a CDP scheme, we must know the meaning of the cluster. Cluster is defined as a concentration of units in a given geographical location producing same or similar type of products and facing common opportunity and traits is called a cluster. And this has been typically divided into industrial cluster, handloom cluster and in India, 4,259 clusters have been mapped. This include 1,086 industrial cluster, 2,682 handicraft cluster and 491 handloom cluster. The MSME Government of India has adopted the Cluster Development Scheme in October 2007 as a key strategy for enhancing the productivity and competitiveness as well as capacity building of micro and small enterprises. Need of the study. The study is done for getting a deep knowledge and idea about the MSME cluster development scheme being used in safety matchbox industry Guidyatham. Like before, the industry was existed as the individual micro industry where the manufacturing of the matchbox was done manually and then mostly the women and children were involved in the manufacturing activity and they were affected a hazardous chemical for which the women and children were had affected their health. So the study was mainly focused on to know the advantage of the scheme and how the people are benefited in different ways and the economic development and the possible way to change the amount provided by the MSME in small scale industry and to improve the competitiveness among the industries globally. Objectives of the study. My primary objective is to study the impact of implementing MSME Cluster Development Program scheme in safety matchbox industry located in Guidyatham. And the secondary objective is to study the present scenario of existing cluster and problem faced by them, to know the social benefits and monetary benefits, to know the growth of employment opportunities and their living standard, and to know the competitiveness of member cluster industry among the industry globally, and to find out the coordination among the industries and to offer appropriate suggestion for the better performance of the industries. Scope of the study. The MSME Cluster Development Scheme adopted by the safety matchbox industry located in Guidyatham, which is one of the successful cluster industry where due to the cluster formation most of the people are benefited. The study will create awareness and through this study MSME will come to know about the factor which is necessary for the member cluster industry to compete with the automatic matchbox manufacturing industry, and MSME will also come to know the present scenario of the cluster industry whether it is having positive or negative impact. If it is negative impact, then what can be done to make it positive and to bring more different ways to benefit the people in micro and small industry. Research methodology. Research design is a descriptive research design. Sample design is census sampling and the population size is 50 units and the sample size is also 50 units. Research period is 3 months and the tools for the data collection is questionnaire and the data collection method is through structure interview method and the tools for analyzing is percentage analysis, ranking and chi-square. Limitation to the study. This research is geographically Guidyatham Center. The number of sample is 50 to represent the intent target farms. The finding and inferences are applicable only to these 50 farms. The time is also limited by 3 months. However, every precautionary step is taken though the direct interaction with the respondent is only 50 have become tougher. Analysis and interpretation. Like the major analysis and interpretation is that I have compared the production of the safety matchbook industries before and after implementation of MSME-CDP scheme. Like I have taken the average of before and after. Like before 2001 to 2006, like major respondent told that they were producing 5 to 6 tons. And after implementing this MSME CDP scheme from 2007 to 12, like major respondent is telling that they are able to produce 15 to 17 tons. There is a vast difference that they are able to produce more 8 to 9 tons after implementing the MSME CDP scheme. Here is the chi-square test, the tool that has been used for analyzing the data. Like I have to test whether there is a significant relation between education qualification and proposed for investment of scheme money. Like interpretation is like that from the above table it is observed that the table value is 0.00, that is less than the significant value, that is 0.05. So we reject the null hypothesis. It can be concluded that there is a positive relation between education qualification and proposed for investment of scheme money. Major findings of the study. The study implies that the cluster industry owners are mostly men and not even a single woman is the owner. It indirectly indicates that the women are not able to start their own industry individually. From the study, it is also found that more than 90% of the respondents are not utilizing the nationalized bank loan for the start of industry. National survey also shows similar result wherein only 10% of the total entrepreneurs are able to loan facility from nationalized bank. On technology scheme, credit linked capital subsidy scheme and technology upgradation fund scheme are much familiar than other technologies and loanable from the other ministry and nationalized bank. It is also found that in Guidyatham match cluster, the scheme money is mostly utilized for the purchase of machinery, that is matchstick dipping machinery, as the individual industry is not capable of purchasing of its own due to its. In this study, it is found that exposure visit and training program are the programs that are given more important at the time of soft intervention. As being a cluster member, visiting existing cluster unit is more important. Through this study, it is also found that the main reason for safety matchbook industry in Guidyatham to become cluster is due to capacity building. As earlier, the safety matchbook industry in Guidyatham was handmade matchbox industry, and the main problem for handmade match industry is the dipping of matchbox stick in the respective chemical, where chemicals are hazardous and regularly affecting the working employee's health, as the individual industry is not capable of purchasing costly machinery of its own. So to come out with this problem, they had adopted for the CFC. Cluster is formed at Guidyatham as major number of handmade matchbox manufacturing industries are located in and around Guidyatham. It is also found that the quality of the matchstick dipping using machine is increased and the failure of matchstick is decreased. So the automation of matchstick dipping manufacturer in cluster increase the competitiveness. It is found that most of the industries are existing on its own even if it becomes the member of cluster. If any small medium enterprise member industry have some innovative idea, they have complete freedom to apply in their individual unit. The implementation of MSME-CDP scheme for matchbook industries at Guidyatham had increased the employment, technology, poverty reduction and had also contributed towards human and children welfare. It also matched the requirement of UNIDO studies at various countries. If one cluster is formed, there would be number of employment. The employee salary would be spent in the rural areas where the cluster is situated, and local merchant would be benefit because of this employee spending. It is also happening in Guidyatham. The expected result of the formation of cluster is achieved. Through this MSME-CDP scheme, both women and children are getting benefit as there is no more child labor. They are able to get education and women are getting employed. It is found that the most of the member industry are keeping their employees as a casual labor and they get payment according to their work done. Through the study, it is found that raw materials are purchased in large quantity to maintain buffer stock and to meet up the immediate order so that the industry does not suffer loss in case of scarcity. It is also found that the industries are providing monetary benefits like special prices, festival loan, incentive, advance increment. I have found some suggestions from the findings. For raw material banking, separate fund is required. The study indicates that there are no women entrepreneurs in cluster industry, whereas majorities of workers are women. So in order to cope up with this problem, MSME should provide some training program like entrepreneur development program, etc., especially for women. The exposure visit to the successful cluster induces the industries to form a new cluster as well as it's a learning experience. So they must focus on increasing the number of exposure visit. As this MSME-CDP scheme is indirectly helping the Indian economy to grow, so MSME should search for a family industry where such scheme can be applied in more numbers. Through the theoretical study, it was found that when MSME team find prospective opportunities, in order to make a pass, the opportunity provider or the industrialistic have to go to Delhi for its approval, which is very time-consuming process. So the government should come up with decentralized structure in order to make easier and faster. Conclusion: MSME-CDP scheme plays a very important role in the Indian economy. It works as a vehicle for poverty elevation, income generation, employment generation, economic development, social benefits, and monetary benefits. Many countries developed and developing had introduced cluster approach in their countries, and different case studies shows that these approaches have positive contribution towards development. Therefore, taking into consideration all the benefits of this approach of rural and regional development, different small industry can take benefit of these approaches for the economic development. This will bring a new life to the small industry as well as the people associated with them. The various institutional framework and governmental policy can play a very important role in the field of cluster development. Thank you.